Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wabihi nasta'in ala umuri dunya wad din. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Nawaitu ta'alluma wa ta'lim wa nafa'a wal intifa' tadhakkura wa tadhkir wal ifada wal istifada wal hatha 'ala tamassuki bi kitabillah wa sunnati nabiyhi sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa da'wati al huda wa dilanati ila al khairi ibtigha'a wajhillahi wa qurbihi wa thawabihi wa qurbi ila sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Alhamdulillah, dear viewers, ladies and gentlemen, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with His mercy that we have entered into the month of Ramadan proper. It had been 7 days that we have fasted, alhamdulillah, most of us do. And also these lessons, we are on the 7th lesson. So we have 3 more lessons after this. We will try to complete the book Remedy for the Heart by Sheikh Abdul Qadir Al-Muttalib Al-Mandili Al-Andalusi rahimahullah wa nafa'ana Allah bihi bi'ilmihi fi daraini amin. Ladies and gentlemen, we mentioned earlier in the past lessons about the sins that we commit and the body parts that commit those sins. And we have explained somewhat in detail of what we should be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, and also things to watch out for, and what those body parts particularly usually commit. And now we go on to the next chapter in the book. It is the chapter on the heart, the qalb, in Arabic, in English it is also called the heart. What it refers to is mean that when we say heart, there is the physical heart. There is the physical heart. It refers to that piece or ball of flesh which is on the left side of our hearts, and it serves its purpose to pump blood and give function to our body. And that is what heart is. And also heart, and this is what the topic of our lessons, the topic, the important thing that we should emphasize on is our heart. And when we are when we talk about heart in Tasawwuf, it refers to our spiritual heart, our spiritual heart. So that is what we should always take care of. Ourselves, we usually take care of for those who take care of their bodies. Yeah, we take care of our bodies. There are those who are willing to exercise daily. They cycle long distances. They jog every day, early morning or at night, long distances. For those who are into working out, then they go to the gym for hours and hours, building their body parts, so that it is well taken care of, and it is nice to look at, and it is beautiful. People taking care of their bodies. For ourselves as Muslims, as believers in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is one aspect of care that we should not oversee. It is almost everything in our life as a Muslim. Everything is attributed to our heart. It refers to our spiritual heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, in Surah Ash-Shams, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. And قَدْ أَفْلَحَ means they achieve success. Who are they? Who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala referring to? قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Those who purify her, it refers to their hearts. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ, they succeed in this life, they succeed in the hereafter. Who? Not those who are wealthy, not those who achieve great status in this world, not those who achieve wealth, not those who succeeds in worldly pursuits or breaks records. But قَدْ أَفْلَحَ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ, they succeed, مَنْ زَكَّاهَا, those who purify their hearts. Yeah. So it is something that exists truly, but if you want to talk about the location of the spiritual heart, it is something that we as believers, as mu'min, we look at the first few verses of Surah Al-Baqarah. Alif Lam Mim, Zalikal Kitabu La Raiba Fi, Hudal Lil Muttaqin, Alladhina Yu'minuna Bil Ghaibi. Alif Lam Mim, Zalikal Kitabu La Raiba Fi. The second verse, Allah speaks about the Quran. Hudal Lil Muttaqin, and the Quran serves as a guidance for Muttaqin, people who have taqwa. Now this is, you look at the next sentence, Alladhina, the first thing mentioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to describe people who are among the muttaqin, people who have taqwa, Alladhina yu'minuna bil ghaibi wa yuqimuna as-salah wa mimma razaqnahum yunfiqun. The first description, Alladhina yu'minuna bil ghaibi, those who believe in the unseen, the heart, spiritual heart, angels, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the unseen. It is not referring to sometimes it is attributed to paranormal activities, things that are unseen. But for believers, the unseen includes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We cannot see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world, and Allah is not a physical being that we can look at also in this world. Alladhina yu'minuna bil ghaibi, the muttaqin, who are those who have taqwa. The second part, wa yuqimuna as-salah, and those who perform their prayers, who perform the salats. Wa yuqimuna as-salah wa mimma razaqnahum yunfiqun, and those who give infaq, those who donate, they give charity from what Allah had bestowed them with. Wa mimma razaqnahum, and from what we gave them, what we bestow, which refers to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yunfiqun, they donate, they give in charity. So these are the attributes of muttaqin. The first, alladhina yu'minuna bil ghaibi, so we should give priority to it. When we talk about the spiritual heart, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned in a hadith, ala wahiyal qalbu. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned before that in our body there is a piece of meat, there is a cut of meat. If it is good, if it is pure, if it is healthy, then the whole body is healthy. إذا فسدت, if it is spoilt, if it is dirty, if it is unclean, then the whole body becomes dirty and unclean. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned qalb, ala wahiyal qalb. And what is Rasulullah referring to? Rasulullah sallallahu is referring to the qalb, the heart. And Rasulullah pointed to his heart when Rasulullah mentioned the qalb. So we can, it is something that we cannot draw what is the spiritual heart, but what it looks like, but it is what is inside of us. And it is what, when people speak to us, they speak to our ears. Our ears, and then the brain processes the speech that we hear, the meaning, what ascertains what is the meaning of what people say to us, and that has an effect where? In our heart. So when people are speaking to us, they are, the ears are the ones listening, the brain is the one that processes, but as believers, we believe that it comes, the strength, our spiritual heart. Because when people say it is the brain that processes, correct, it is the brain that processes, but how it affects us, it returns to our heart. For example, you see, when people say to us positive words, when people say positive words to us, you can do it, you are a smart student, you are hardworking, you are a good person, we like to give in charity, good words, but it gives a good positive feeling to us. So it's addressing those speech to our heart. And then when people say negative words to us, people say that you cannot make it, you are not strong, you are ill, you are sick, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, those are and you will always fail, you cannot succeed. Those are negative words, and it also addresses our hearts. So we can see that how we feel, what people say to us affects how we feel, can give us motivation, can give us distraction, can make us want to do nothing. So that is a proof is that when people talk to us, it is the heart that is the core of our body. And then there is the question of when we talk about the heart, and then people there is also another aspect, the qalb, the heart, and people talk about ruh, loosely translated in English as spirit. And then there is also the nafs. Now, where are those three things? Where is the qalb? Where is the nafs? Nafs referring to the desire in us. Is in Islam, when you talk about nafs, it is talking about also hawa. It is also talking about hawa, which means the part of us that has desire and want things. The nafs, the desire to eat, for example. The nafs, the desire to sleep. The nafs, the desire to perform sexual acts. So that is referring to the nafs. And then there is the ruh, which is usually when they mention of ruh, the ruh is the life of the body, and when we pass away, the angel Israel, which is tasked to pull out the ruh from our body. So the scholars say those three are actually interchangeable. It is something that is inside of us, inside of us. It is spiritual in nature. It is ghaib. It is categorized as part of the unseen inside of us. So it can be, it refers to the same thing, but the properties are different. So it is something that we should take note of. Yes. So this is also the opinion of Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah in Ihya Ulumuddin, that these three words are referring to the same thing, something that is inside of us, something that gives a reaction, and something that gives our spirituality life. So this is why it is very important for us to take care of what is inside our hearts. Yes, it is very important for us to purify our hearts. So we return back to the verse in the Quran. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who mentioned qad aflaha man zakkaha. Verily qad aflaha, succeed. Who are the ones who succeed? Those who purify their hearts. So we have to purify that. We have to identify what are the praiseworthy attributes and what are the blameworthy attributes. We have explained some of this in the past lessons. And so, for example, what are the when we talk about purification, it's not physical, of course. When we talk about purification, what it means is that you have to purge as much as possible. We cannot remove them. We cannot remove desire because it is part of how Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala created us. So we have to learn how to first what we have to do to purify our hearts is to identify what are the blameworthy attributes, and also what are the praiseworthy attributes that comes after we purge ourselves of the blameworthy attributes, and what are after that comes the praiseworthy attributes, and how we purify and cleanse our hearts with those attributes. And for example, what are the attributes that is negative inside our heart? These are called illnesses of the heart. It is an illness for those who do evil things and evil deeds. The ulama of Tasawwuf call these illnesses that should be remedied. So that is why you see Imam Sheikh Abdul Qadir Al-Mandili, author of this book, Penawar Bagi Hati, the title in Malay, translated as remedy for the heart. It is a remedy for the illnesses in our heart. So he mentioned some of the examples of the we call the blameworthy attributes. One of them, for example, is the character of takabbur. Takabbur comes from the word kabir, which means large, and the same word also gives the variation of the word kabir, akbar. Akbar. What has the character of akbar? Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, our creator. Allahu Akbar. Allah is the most, Allah is the greatest. Allahu Akbar. So why is takabbur? I will explain on takabbur a bit after this. Why is takabbur frowned upon? Because greatness and majesty, it is something that belongs to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So when we think ourselves as big, we think ourselves as better than others, we think ourselves as higher, and people besides us know less always, and people around us is always lower in status than us, and we are better than other people. That is takabbur, because it is the right, it belongs to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Kabir, it is the attribute of Allah, but us, we are mere creatures, simple humans. We always think ourselves as great and good, but when we look at ourselves, when we look at our bodies at the most basic state, nothing from our body smells nice, right? There is nothing in our body that we eject. Our mouth, there's bad breath. We pass motion and we go to the toilet. Things that do not smell nice. And when we sweat, except for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whose sweat is perfume and sweet smelling. As normal human beings, our sweat is also does not have a nice smell to it. So if you look at our bodies, there is nothing special about them. If you are talking about greatness as compared to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, so that is why takabbur shouldn't sit well with us. To think that you are great, because greatness is the attribute and belongs to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and what is praiseworthy for us is to tawadu, to always lower ourselves, not out of to be showy or to show other people that we are humble, we are in humility, but to realize that it is really our place to be that low. Tawadu, there is the test that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala tests us with, and that is the attribute we should strive for. We look at the lessons of salat. In salat, in prayer, we do the sujood, and it is mentioned by Rasulullah SAW in a hadith, the closest you are, aqrab, the closest you are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is when you are in prostration. It is when you are in sujood, when your forehead is on the ground, that people step on and their feet step on. That is when you are closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are the most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is when our prayers will be answered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because not because simply because by saying we should be that and then we become that, but by to be humble. For example, some people say, when there is a conversation, and then he says, my humble opinion. If it is really, because I just want to really explain what tawadu is, what humble really is. If someone is really humble, then he, in the first place, he will not give his opinion, because he knows that his opinion doesn't matter, and other people are discussing certain things. It is up to them to discuss those things. And when we say, this is my humble opinion, so that is what people always say. But humble is to realize that we are human beings, we are creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have nothing nice, it's all a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is takabbur, to feel that you are great, because greatness does not belong to us. Of course, when we talk about motivation, yes, greatness, we should achieve greatness in life, but there is talking about success and achievements, but not great per se. It's the meaning of greatness. And then, for example, another illness of the heart is riya. Sometimes people confuse between takabbur and riya. It is almost the same, but the difference is that riya comes from the word ra'a, which means to see. And riya is a derivation from ra'a, which means to show. Not show, but to let people see. That is the essence of riya. To let people see. See you. Look at me. Look at my ibadah. Look how diligent I am in performing this ibadah. Look at how I am good in the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha. Riya, which means to show an ibadah to other people. And this is such a terrible thing to do, to the extent that it is described by Rasulullah SAW as a shirkul asghar, or kama qala Rasulullah SAW, which means shirk is to worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to associate another being as having the property of God. Look at how it is described by Rasulullah SAW, shirkul asghar. Why is it so bad? Because our ibadah, the main and the only purpose is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, when you recite the niyat, the intention in prayer, what do you always say? Usalli fardal maghribi thalatha raka'atin. And what do you say in the end? Lillahi ta'ala, which means for the sake, only for the sake of Allah Most High, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you riya, that means you show things that you show actions that you do not normally do, simply because you want to let other people see and other people think that you are great, whereas you are definitely not. And probably that person who shows off his ibadah does not perform ibadah, because in the Yawmil Qiyamah he will be asked to bring that person that you showed your ibadah to see what can he give you. Understand? In Yawmul Qiyamah, For example, for a certain prayer that we do, riya, we want to show off to other people. When people are sitting, and then you come, you show that you wear such great clothes, and then you want and volunteer to lead the prayer, for example, and you want to recite Quran in nice voice, just to show that you are great and you are something. There is riya. And in Yawm al-Qiyamah, you will be asked to call that person. For example, you do that ibadah, and you want to show it to people who are there, and then in Yawm al-Qiyamah, in Judgment Day, you will be asked to bring that person who you displayed your ibadah to see what he can do to you, to see what he can give you, to see what he can grant you. Will he give you a reward? Will he give you this? Nothing. So this is one of the things that we should take note of if ever the riya creeps into our heart to perform this. But also there are pitfalls, and the trick of shaitan is that when you do things to show other people, ibadah, I'm talking riya particularly is on the matter of ibadah, not other things. Other things is called show off, but riya here in Islam particularly is about ibadah. So when you do certain salat, and then when you are done, you want to do the sunnah prayers, for example, and everyone else in your group that you are praying with does not perform the sunnah prayers, and then it creeps into your heart the idea that oops, if I want to pray, anyone else, nobody else is performing the sunnah prayer, the ba'diyah, and so I will also not perform the sunnah prayer because people are looking and people may think that I am riya. But the scholars say that is also riya. When you do things for other people, it is riya. When you leave things for other people, it is riya also. You understand? When you do things, you do ibadah, you pray just because of people, it is riya. You read the Quran nicely just because of other people. But when there are no people around, you don't do those things. There is riya. When you leave things not for the sake of Allah, as the example I mentioned just now, do the sunnah prayers and you leave that for the sake of people, that is also riya. So whatever you want to do good deeds, always remind yourself before that I am doing this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not for the sake of other people. I am doing this ibadah. If people are around, I will perform this ibadah, I will perform the prayer. If there is nobody around, I will still perform this ibadah. So there is a sign, a measurement to know that if this is this riya or not. If this is riya, that means when no people is around, you won't do that. The measurement of it is not riya, that means if there is nobody around, I will still do the same ibadah, and that is ikhlas for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is an illness of the heart. And those are examples only, and it takes up to one lesson. And then we should beautify our hearts with praiseworthy attributes, such as the character of sabr, to be patient, to persevere. A lot of people can have patience, but not all people, in fact, according to what we see every day, especially in the month of Ramadan, and especially in these troubling and difficult times of COVID and everything, the true measure of sabr, the true measure that someone has patience, is that in all conditions, in all challenges, his reaction will still be sabr. Because why do I say this? There are people who claim to be patient person, someone who have forbearance, always forgiving. But when he faces certain things that he does not like, for example, there are people who are okay with certain aggressions, but they are his pet peeves. For example, something particularly that irritates him and that makes him angry and lose his patience. That means that sabar is not complete. It's only certain parts. A measure of someone who is truly sabar, truly patient, is that everything does not make him, nothing makes him triggered. Everything, he can be patient with everything, every situation, whether people speak ill about him or his parents, people insult him, or people, when driving, cars overtake and in front of him, whatever the situation, he is still sabar. See, people can be sabar, but for example, there are people who, when cars overtake them, they cannot accept, they want to race and insult. We have seen this. We have seen a lot. For example, in these COVID times, right? You ask all the mosque volunteers, surely they have seen people who are usually, who goes to the mosque, people who are seen as people of ibadah daily. They do not leave their 5 daily prayers. But when in situations like this, there are instances where some of them raise their voice against the volunteer, they insult, and they even spit out really vile, evil words, cursing people of the mosque. So, true measure of someone who has patience is that in whatever situation, they can be patient, and the last person to get angry is the best person. I mean, whatever situation, everybody is angry already, he is the last person. That means he is very, this is a praiseworthy attribute. Of course, anger, we cannot get rid of, we do not get rid of anger because we cannot, and it is also something that can be positive if channeled in the right way. But he is someone who is the last person to get angry and the first person to calm down. That is what we want to aim for. And also there is the attribute of tawadu', which means to really humble and lower ourselves to realize that is the essence of who we are as human beings. And so we have reached the end of this lesson. InsyaAllah, we will try to touch more in the heart, and we go into the blameworthy attributes that we want to touch on, InsyaAllah, in the next lessons. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم وأستغفر الله من قول بالعمل سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Please make dua for our community, make dua for me, make dua for our families when you are breaking your fast, because those are one of the times that our dua will be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah raise and may Allah remove this pandemic quickly from us and grant us InsyaAllah peaceful, happy lives, InsyaAllah. So thank you everyone. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.